So yesterday we discussed about returns in GST. The procedure of matching, reversal and reclaim of input tax credit in GST. So what is the process of matching, reversal and reclaim of ITC? One is matching. So like we discussed about one thing in the last class. In this GST returns, in GSTR 1, there is a return of, it's a return of sales. So every invoice of sales is uploaded in GSTR 1. Then GSTR 2 is the inward supply return. So every invoice which was uploaded in GSTR 1 by the seller is matched by the purchaser in GSTR 2. So in GSTR 2 or 2A, I would say the matching happens. So the seller's sale becomes purchaser's purchase and it will match with that purchase. What will actually happen? Now, before I start this matching and all, let me tell you the process which we are studying in next 2-3 slides is a theoretical process. Practically, this process is not followed. This is just because it's in your books, it's in your syllabus, we are reading it, we are studying it. Otherwise, practically these returns, these things are not in function. So whatever we are studying is a theoretical one. Practically it is not followed. It is an old law. The new law is not this much. It's a very short. So we can discuss it offline, but for the purpose of books, because it is given in the books, we need to study it. So how the matching happens? So detail of every inward supply furnished by recipient. So I told you there were two returns. One is outward supply, one is inward supply. So outward supply is uploaded by seller, inward supply is uploaded by purchaser, and then they both are matched in the portal. And if there are any problems, there are any discrepancies, there are any mismatches. Suppose the seller says bill number 1 dated 1st January 2024, rupees 1 lakh. But the purchaser says, no, I purchased bill number 1 dated 1/1/2024, but the amount is 1,50,000. Now there is a mismatch. Same bill number, same date, but the amount is not matching. Or maybe the amount is matching, date is not matching. Or maybe the date and amount is matching, but the bill number is not matching. So anything which is not matching is a mismatch. So whatever outward supply, whatever seller uploads, whatever purchaser uploads, both are matched. Both are reconciled. And if there are any mismatches, that will be communicated to both the parties, to seller, to purchaser. Now someone has to correct his return. Either purchaser is wrong or either seller is wrong. Whoever is wrong will correct it. Otherwise, the difference tax has to be paid. So suppose seller says it's a 1 lakh rupees, purchaser says it's a 150. Now if seller corrects it, he will have to pay differential 50,000 tax. If purchaser corrects this, he will have to reduce his input and pay the tax. Because if his liability is increased, his sales increase, he had to pay tax. His purchase decrease, he has to pay the tax. Someone has to pay the tax. So whoever is correcting has to pay the tax. So details of every inward supply furnished by recipient, that is the purchaser, is matched with detail of corresponding outward supply furnished by supplier for the same period or different period. So both details of 1 and 2, sale and purchase, are matched with each other. Maybe same period or other period. And also with customs IGST, because a purchaser may purchase goods not just from the supplier, it may purchase from out of India. So it may be an import and the IGST might be paid under the Customs Act. So that will be matched with customs portal. Whatever is matched, whatever is claimed and matched is accepted and communicated to the recipient in MIS 1. If any mismatches are there and it matched in a subsequent period, it will be again communicated in MIS 1. Now there are any mismatches and that are not resolved, then discrepancy will be communicated to both recipient and supplier, MIS 1 and MIS 2. These are the form names in which the communication happens. Then the supplier and recipient may make corrections in their outward or inward supplies submitted as per the above mismatch communicated. If discrepancy not corrected in the same month of communication, it will be added to outward tax liability of next month of supplier. So suppose this month seller corrects, then it will be added in the seller's liability. Purchaser correct, it will be decreased from the input of purchaser. If it is not correct, it will be added to the outward tax liability of the relevant party. Interest at the rate 18% is leviable from the date of original month till date of correction. If it is not corrected in the same month, interest will be applicable. Now, talk about this is the matching claim reversal of ITC. Now there are 3 registers under GST: liability register, cash register and credit register. So liability ledger, electronic liability ledger, these all ledgers are maintained online and available in the login ID, password, login ID, credential of every assessee, every person. Whatever liability is payable by a person will be debited, will be recorded in electronic liability ledger, which is in the PMT01. All amounts payable by him are debited into this ledger. Tax, interest, late fees, any other amount. Tax, interest, late fees, any other amount determined by the officer. So as per your returns, it will be debited. Determined by officer, it will be debited. Tax, interest as a result of mismatch. So mismatch we just discussed. That mismatch, if there are any liabilities, you do not correct your mismatches, it will be added to your electronic liability ledger. Whatever interest applicable at the rate 18%, it will also be debited to this ledger. Now, whenever you make payment of the liability through credit ledger or cash ledger, so you can pay your liability through credit or through cash. So whenever you make a payment, it will be credited back by that payment as per the return filed for these adjustment. So any TDS, TCS, so these things are to be paid only through credit, only through cash ledger. You cannot pay TDS, TCS, RCM, composition tax, interest, penalty, late fees and other amounts through credit ledger. This can be paid only through cash ledger only. Any relief given by any appellate authority, tribunal or court shall be also effected in the electronic liability ledger accordingly. Interest or penalty will be reduced as per the payment made by person as per the show cause notice or order. So as per the liability, interest and penalty will also get increased or reduced. If there are any issues, any problems, you can inform to your jurisdiction officer in PMT 04. Suppose you think your liability is wrongly debited in the electronic liability ledger, you can inform your officer to in PMT 04. Credit ledger. So every claim of input tax credit is maintained in electronic credit ledger in PMT 02. Now, what are the debits and credit? It will be debited for discharge of any liability. So whatever liability you are discharging, if you are paying through credit ledger, it will be debited. It will be debited upon claim of refund. So whenever you want to get a refund of your credit ledger, naturally it will be debited from the credit ledger. If the refund is rejected, then it will be again credited back to the credit ledger. Now if there are any issues, you can definitely inform in PMT 04. Cash ledger, every amount deposited by taxable person and paid by cash, that means through bank or any other mode, is maintained in electronic cash ledger in PMT 05. It will be credited by way of challan generated in PMT 06 for tax, interest, penalty or others separately. Challan is always valid for 15 days. You can pay your challan through internet banking, debit card, credit card, NEFT, RTGS from any bank, and over the counter payment up to 10,000 by cash or check or demand draft is also allowed. Over the counter of limit of 10,000 is not applicable for government department. Recovery of dues by GST department during investigation or enforcement activity or any ad hoc deposit. So in these cases, this limit is not applicable. It can be deposited up to any number of times. Made by unregistered person can also be made by generating temporary identification number on the portal. Identification number. So on successful credit by the bank, CIN will be generated by bank and indicated on the challan. On the basis of CIN only, GST network, GST website will give effect to electronic cash ledger. CIN is not generated, but amount is debited. Sometimes it happens that we made payment, but amount get debited, but the challan not generated. The person may inform through PMT 07 to the bank or electronic gateway where deposit was initiated. If any refund claim from electronic cash ledger, it will be immediately debited from the ledger. If refund claim is rejected, the amount will be recredited to electronic cash ledger on the basis of PMT 03 by the officer. If there are any discrepancies in electronic cash ledger, you can definitely inform in PMT 04. Now, assessments under GST, so we will study that tomorrow. Are any doubts? There is a query that today someone has received a mail about mock test. So what is the procedure? So I am again sorry for that. I have no idea about mock test and all. If you need any help, you can call on the helpline number of the institute. Class attendance. So Nandini is asking, the class attendance is mandatory. So again, I have no idea whether the class attendance is mandatory or not.